No, maybe? Maybe it's only the first one? That looks correct. Hey, I figured it out. In this ongoing series in which I refuse to learn my lesson that this is a bad idea, I've chosen Castlevania as the next game on my list. This is the original Castlevania on the NES, so certified classic. I considered just emulating it, and probably should have, we'll get to that, but ultimately decided on buying the Castlevania collection on the Switch, since that has a lot of different Castlevania games that I may want to look into later. Regardless, the collection comes with one nice advantage: quick saves. Well, I say quick saves, but it's less quick than I'd hoped for, and less plural than I'd hoped for. Seriously, there are 6 unused buttons on this controller, and you couldn't map 2 of them to quick save and quick load? This means I got really good at opening the menu and loading a prior save. Like, really, really good. But that's future me's problem. Let's get into the run. Rules are on screen. So Castlevania is divided into 6 stages of roughly equivalent length. My notes detail what movement I'll need on each screen within that stage so I can keep track of where I'm going. But this game has some weird mechanics in terms of item use and upgrades, and because of the era the game was released in, no one understands you don't have to make a game stupidly difficult to sell it. This isn't an arcade, I've already bought the game. So now we'll dive into the 5 stages of speedrunning game you've never played that's way too hard. So stage 1 isn't too bad. It's the first level of the game after all. I did end up making a quick save after entering a room where the number of frames matters to get the intended result. Since it was early and pretty easy, I just restarted and took it back from the beginning. But not before getting all the way to the boss with no sub-weapon and too many whip extensions. Yes, in this game, getting too many whip upgrades can be bad. On the second run through, I got the stopwatch I needed from a random enemy drop, which was convenient, but I figured I'd give the trick of getting the stopwatch another try. Instead of doing it correctly, I just restarted again. For reasons that will become apparent, I didn't restart the game very much after this. From this point on, I got in the habit of saving at the end of each room or during the transition between rooms. This will end up saving me a lot of times in this run. Last is the big bad boss fight, which goes fine-ish. Yeah, we'll call that good enough. Next, in stage 2, I got through the first few sections pretty easily, but I am quickly reaching the limits of my own note-taking ability. Seriously, I should probably expand what resources I have access to while doing these runs, because oof, I am bad at notes. This stage also introduces falling to your death, which will happen a lot. I also do a damage boost skip pretty effectively, which I congratulate myself on. And then come Crushers, which I get through on the very first attempt. Don't you worry, Crushers, you'll get plenty of kills in before this game ends. And the stupid fireball statues, which I did not understand mechanically at all. No idea why these present such a problem for my brain. And while I'm complaining, sub-weapons. Using them is bad. Up A is a weird input that the game does not want to read on my Pro controller. So it presumably was also very bad on the original NES hardware, but I guess that's fair since the NES only had 2 buttons, but again, this controller has more. Also, these fireball statues are awful, and I hate them. Last thing in the level is the Medusa fight, which was fine. I'm not great about timing out the attacks in the holy waters, but being able to save reload right before the fight lets me get in some practice in pretty short order and beat stage 2. Let's get this out of the way early. These jumpy little bastards are awful. I hate them more than every other enemy in this game. To be honest, I start to reach the part of this run where my brain is tired and not doing a great job at looking at my notes. Anyone who has seen a proper runner of this game will be baffled by the movement on screen. It's not just the execution I'm struggling with, it's a reading comprehension. Also, the axe drop I need to get before leaving this screen really cannot decide if it's going to fall through the platform or not. Like 50-50 on that. And I don't know why the designers of this game felt the need to make half their game jump across long platforms while everything shoots at you. Seriously, we cross a long stretch of tenuous walkway, climb some stairs, and look, more tenuous walkway. But don't you worry, I cut most of it out, because it is just me dying repeatedly and in ways that are sad but not funny. At least the music in this game absolutely slaps. Seriously, 10 out of 10 on every song in this game. Finally, I make it to the boss of this stage, 2 mummies, and it ends up being super easy. Weird that all of the bosses have been super easy, but the stages leading up to them have been a pain. So there is a bit of a trick on this stage to use some perfectly timed movement to get damage boosted up out of bounds to skip this very small section where you ride a bridge. I don't do that though. I tried to do that, I failed to do that, then I got angry and gave up. Basically, I just decided I would just try and get through the area the intended route, which went... well, it certainly went. Hoo boy am I making use of this game's very liberal manual save system. Seriously, I think I used 3 separate saves to get through this very small section. Oh, but don't you worry. Next is more Hoppy Boys, who are absolute bastards. They get dropped by birds on both directions and just exist to be a pain in the ass.
Wow, I'm gonna get really angry by the end of this, aren't I?
Yes, past me, you will in fact be very angry. When I finally make it through with the sub-weapon I actually want, I have exactly 1 HP, which is not great as far as not dying in the future is concerned. So I die. A lot. And after a lot of suffering against the bone snakes, I reach the boss of this stage, which has a particular rhythm to attacking and throwing holy water to kill it, but I'm not good at it, so I continue to die a bunch. Eventually I go more conservative, only whipping twice between throws of holy water, and stage 4 is finally done. Only 2 more stages before I can call this awful game and never play it again. Most of the first area has nothing difficulty-wise on some of the nonsense at the end of stage 4. Lots of similar challenges and attempting to do damage boosts and failing at doing damage boosts. As with a lot of my speedruns, my run on this game becomes less and less a speedrun and more just normal gameplay, as I get tired and I've forgotten large portions of what I've written down. This stage was basically the point I was looking down at my notes and they just didn't mean anything to me. I don't think my notes were worse, I think my brain was just done. The rest of this level isn't really interesting, climbing stairs and fighting skeletons. I think that's honestly one of the worst parts about this run. The levels aren't actually very interesting. It's basically the same stuff. Definitely going to insist that is the case and not just that I don't know what I was supposed to be doing. It's definitely the game's fault. But don't worry, I suffered plenty courtesy of my old friends, the Bone Pillars. I hate these Bone Pillars. I hate them a lot. Fortunately, when you've stopped caring about speed at all, they can be broken by attacking them repeatedly, which definitely makes them a lot less awful to deal with. Then I reached Death, the boss of this stage, who, despite his name, took less attempts than any other boss in this game, other than I think the 2 mummies, which was funny. Basically just throw holy water and jump attack. Easy peasy. 1 stage left to go, how hard could it be? Oh boy, I was so optimistic going into this run. Game is short, run's not that long. I think a part of me forgot how much horseshit these older games were, designed with arcade sensibilities to eat quarters and extend playtimes. And boy, did it extend my playtime. First are giant bats that move in unusual patterns and shoot fire, then skeletons using bone meringue, then even more Hoppy Boys getting dropped by birds for some reason. Finally, we reach Dracula and the final stage. Who designed this boss? Actual question. This boss is the biggest pain in my ass and cost me 35 minutes and I never even made it to stage 2. Let alone the fact that you're supposed to kill him with this boomerang and not break all these stupid candles so you can use them to get a new upgrade in stage 2. I know my notes say something about frames to bait out specific patterns or something. I believe this, I've seen a proper run, but it's not even a speedrunning issue. Just beating this boss at all is terrible. His fireball attack is a nightmare to dodge, he loves to teleport on top of you and damage you. I don't know what his second phase is like, never fought it, never going to. This fight sucks, and I didn't want to do it anymore. So, I gave up. Is this a satisfying conclusion to this attempt? No. But honestly, I have better things to do than get murdered in a 35-year-old game. So I turned it off, stopped recording, and moved on with my life. Well, that was rough. Never had so much trouble just trying to play a stupid game. The run didn't look too bad, but I did underestimate the change in design philosophies over the last 30 years. The runs I've previously done were hard, sure, but only hard to do the run, not just hard to play the game normally. Old games are hard both to run and just get through the game at all. Will I be doing any speedruns of classic games? Wow, no. Or probably not. Who knows, I'm full of bad ideas. But that's it for me. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.